So when it's getting closer to hot tent camping season, we all start looking up decent hot tents and stoves. Now most stoves, like the Pomoly ones, the dandelion shell ones, they're all big and bulky, but there is stoves like this on the market what do collapse. Now I do know Pomoly have a good collection of these on their website. If I remember, I will share the link to their website in the description. As you can see, this is Woodswalkers. Now this one no longer sells on Amazon. Every time I try putting it into Google, I can't find it, but this is the stove I'm showing you. Now if you subscribe to the channel, the previous video is me using this full setup. Then when I got home and I weighed it, I was quite surprised just how lightweight this setup was. Now if you're going to be doing a lot of hot tent camping in the winter time and you're going to be walking from your car to your destination, if you're carrying a big hot tent, it's going to be at least 10 kilos. If you're carrying a big stove, you're talking 11 to 15 kilos as well. They're big, they're bulky. But I'm happy to bring you to the video showing you a lightweight setup. Now, with the hot tent and the inner in it as well, and the stove, it comes to 5.4 kilos. So this is a lightweight hot tent setup. Now, I'm not straight away saying it's probably the best of the best on the market, because we all know different brands do different types of things with the stove. Some do them out of stainless, titanium. I do believe this is a titanium stove, that's why it's so lightweight. The stove itself with the chimney, everything is 2.7 kilos, and the tent is 2.7 kilos as well. So what I'll do is I will get the tent set up. Now this OneTigris iron wall tent is the second design of theirs. The first design, there were a few faults with it, so they remade it and sorted the faults out. Now one of the faults was it was slightly too small, and it were a real pain to even try to get out of the tent when you're inside it. So they added this little bit of an extra section just there. See that? Last time it was just that high, so they added that little bit extra there. It's not a lot, but when you try to move around in the tent, it helped a lot. And the other thing was the zip to the door was on the stove side. So once they got told about it, I think I did a video about it telling them, and they moved the zip to the opposite side, so getting in and out of the bedroom area were away from the stove. The older design, the zip were behind the stove, so I don't know how they expected you to get in and out of the bedroom apartment like that, and it was really hard. You had to let your stove die down really well. So what I'll do is I will get the tent set up and then I'll show you. Now I've had this tent a long time. The bag has actually ripped. I'm meaning to try probably find a better bag to keep it in. Now I'll be honest, I was out in this tent last night, so it did rain a little bit. There's some condensation build up on it still. Yeah, I sort of packed it away wet, but I didn't have enough time to hang around to let it dry out. Right, so what you need to do is once you get it sort of set out like this, then you need to start pegging it out. But what I do suggest is don't peg it out, you know, like you're proper tightening it, because at the end of the day you've still got to put the pole up, and it's a lot easier to put the pole inside it. So it is a teepee style. It is a lot easier to put the pole inside of it while the material is still a little bit loose, but the pole's not going to fall over. So I'm just getting a handful of pegs. Like I say, for 5.4 kilos in weight, if you're hiking away from your car, this is a lightweight setup as it is. There's different stoves. You can even get these stoves now on Temu and places like that, around about £100, but I test them before you actually do start using them ones. But still, there's some cheap ones on Amazon and places like that what you can take a look at. There's no better than hot tent camping when it's cold outside. I've spent many nights in tents bivvy bags, stuff like that. Just being cold. I'm turning more to hot tents. That doesn't say in the winter time that I'm just going to be using hot tents, because I'll still use bivvy bags and stuff like that as well. Just trying to work out. Yeah, there we go, that's what I need. I've left the inner attached, so you can actually take the inner out. What I mean by that is half of the tent on the inside is mesh. Now you attach that to the inner when it's up. I've left it up like this. You can do it like that. It's no, you know, it's no big deal to leave it attached. But what you can do, like say, you can take it off and you've got more room to move around on the inside while you're doing your stuff. But even with tents like this, I'd prefer to have a separate bedroom area to the small work area. The work area is about half the size of the tent, the shape of the tent, let's say, and the other half is your bedroom. Even though I'm a fully grown man and I've been camping for a lot of years, I still don't like the idea of slugs and stuff crawling over you when you're sleeping. So I still do enjoy leaving the inner up in place. I've woke up many nights camping over all the years with slug trails over your sleeping bags. You just think to yourself, hang on a minute, I was sleeping there with my mouth open. Did I eat that slug? We eat spiders when we're asleep, apparently. Mind you, I think you'd know if you eat a slug, wouldn't you? Imagine that. That'd be horrible, wouldn't it? Right. There we go. I do believe it's nearly all set up now. Just need to pull this out because that's part of the guideline. Right, let's get the pole in place. So what will happen when you put the pole in place, you will feel some of the pegs move up one side or the other. You just need to nip back round then and just readjust them. Right, see what I mean? Someone just came out there. That's it, it's no big deal. You can just nip round and put them back in place. This is because I didn't do them as tight as I could have done. And one big tip as well is what I'd like to say is, when you're at this stage, have the door fully zipped up. Don't peg it out when the door's not fully zipped, because you'll find out if you do it like that, when you come to try to do the zip up, the old tent and the door will not close. Many times I've done it, many times. Now, I've unconnected the inner while I was doing this, so I could show you exactly what I mean by the amount of room that you have inside. So you do have some guidelines here, what you can pull out. If it's really windy, I just attached some last night because the wind was picking up. You got an air vent just here, one at the other side. Just here is your stove jack, so your stove for your pipe will go through there. You can unroll it if you're not using it for the hot tent. That covers that. I wouldn't say it waterproofs it, but yeah, it covers it anyway, so you can just use it as a normal tent. You do have two vents, so you got one on the left and one on the right side. So there is a bit of a problem with the material like this. Is because it's made out of this polyester material, the sparks, if you don't do your spark arrestor properly, can come down out of the stovepipe and it melts little holes in the tent. Now the Oxford material hot tents, let's say the fabric hot tents, it doesn't do that with it, but these sort of tents, it doesn't tend to have the issue doing that, and that's why you get these little holes in it here. So the amount of room you've got to move around within the tent is really good. You know, you can get 2 people very easily sleeping in here if you don't have the stove in place. Put that pipe a bit straighter. So you could have like, yeah, basically one across the door there, one across the door here, and you could have like your equipment at each side. Very spacious one-man tent anyway, with or without the inner mesh. Now I'll talk about that, and here it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to connect this to the tent, and then I'll bring you back and let you see it. I wish I'd learned to zip the tent up properly, especially the inner, when I finished with it, because it makes it a lot easier the second time round putting it up. And basically what this does is it just clips onto the corners. It's not really hard work. One clip is below each sign of OneTigris, and the other clip to it is at the other side from it. I'll show you that now. So ones that I'm on about are just here. So once you work out, so like I say, you get a little hook just there, and below where it says the OneTigris, you see like a plastic ring. All you have to do is connect it there, and then over in this corner here, like so. And you also have one in the middle as well, and you can, if you really want to do, these ones here, where you just connect that there, and it pulls the material all the way out once it's fully set up. So when your inner is in place, that's exactly what it looks like. And then you can just simply unzip it. The zip goes all the way to the top, like so, and then you can get in and out of your tent that way. I'm going to put a little bit of tension on this here. Just pull it down and it lifts the inner mesh, like so. That's a lot better than I had it last night, I must say. And that is where you go to sleep, let's say. Yeah, you could get 2 people in there, I don't see why not. But fully zip. I'll show you how it connects to the top of the tent. So it just connects by this part here. If I let it off, it'll drop down. And then if you want a bit of tension to make the inner mesh a bit tighter, you just give that a bit of a pull, but I think it is all the way up anyway, like that. Now I know full well there's been a lot of videos on YouTube about this tent already, and other ones familiar to this. But if it's new to my channel, what I'm doing is I'm building up a playlist of all different types and styles of hot tents that I have. I've started early. It's on the beginning of October. November, December, I think hot tent season truly kicks in up to March. But yeah, I have started early because I want to show people all the different types of hot tents available. Now there will be a short playlist of the tents that I've shown so far. I'll link that in the description. I think this will be the 3rd one up to date. But this one is pretty good. Now, in windy conditions, yeah, it's probably going to take a bit of a beating. If you tie it out right, it should be all right. I think I've been out in one of the storms in this one. It once stormed Kara Dennis. I think it might have been Storm Dennis, and the tent obviously lasted very well. So yeah, it can handle some wind, highly waterproof, fantastic for that. Does it keep the heat? It keeps the heat in a lot. Even though it's got the top vents, the heat is there. It warms up fantastically. I have had a big Outbacker stove in this. Outbacker stove in this. And it was way too big. Too much heat, you had to open the doors. I used this Woodwalker stove in it last night, and the heat was just perfect. It wasn't too hot, too cold. Even when the stove was dying down, there was still enough heat generated in the tent to keep the tent warm. Yeah, it wasn't freezing, single figures. I can't wait till we do get down them colder weathers. So I'll use it all again, and it just, you know, back ups what I say about the tent. It is cheap. These sort of tents you can get on internet now for around about £100–150. These stoves, I've seen some on the internet, same again, £109, the cheapest one. I'm not going to share a link to it, because if you buy it and then you have an issue with it, I don't want to have that responsibility of that being on my shoulder. But all I say is Temu, Amazon, that's where you can find them. So this stove, like I say, it's the Woodwalker stove. It's the very first stove that I got within the fold-up design anyway. This grass is so wet and muddy. My pants going to be filthy after this. So yeah, it's a lightweight, 2.7 kilos in weight, and that's everything from the stove to the pipe. I even had, you know, gloves in it as well. You need them if you're messing around with hot stoves and stuff like that. So yeah, it is a very easy stove to set up. And that's what you want, especially when it's cold, it's windy, if it's raining. You don't want one of them stoves that take ages to build together. So basically all I need to do is just twist these sides in place like this. These fold-up stoves, especially lightweight ones, are really good. But the issue is then is you've got to have a roll-up pipe, and they're a pain, especially when you're just starting to use it. It's got to be burnt, and once you put it away and roll it back out, it goes like memory, so it knows. I don't know how it knows, because it's not a living thing, but you know, it springs back into its rough position, and all you've got to do is roll it into place yourself. But yeah, that is the stove set up as quickly as that. There's your feeding door, and at the side you've got a little window so you can watch your wood burn through the evening. So that is set up just like that. The next thing I need to do is the stovepipe. Now the stovepipe has a number of rings what holds the pipe in position, and that there goes round the bottom of the pipe. I should have 8 of these. 2, 4, 6, 7, there's one more somewhere. Oh, it was here, 6, 7, 8. There we go. All the cord round it, that is to tie out the stove pipe from blowing around if it's windy. That is your spark arrestor. Let me keep that aside. This part here is what goes into the stove to connect it when you're going to be having the fire. Just want to get these gloves on for this part. With these pipes, once you start doing it for the first few times, you do start getting a little bit like, oh, come on, it's not working. But after a while, you sort of get used to doing it pretty well. Right, so you want to keep these rings somewhere where you know they are, so I'll put them out tent poles. The problem with this stovepipe is it's so thin, it's like spring steel. It will cut you, and it'll cut you deep. So you do have to be very, very careful. Very careful with it. Right, I just need to get the other bits. Should have brought these over really. Right, so this is the part that goes into the stove. I want to put my other glove on, but I know doing this will just be a nightmare with other glove on. So I do need to be careful. I'm gonna have to take both gloves off here. If you do this, just be careful. I am trying to lead by example, but just struggled with that. Oh, there's another piece. Here we go. I've got it. Oh, I've just leant on pipe as well. There we go. So you do need this vise. You need to put that around the stovepipe if it fits. Yeah, around that. There we go. I'll just lock it in place. There we go. Now different stoves with different stovepipes, they might not have this sort of clip here. I'm not lighting it, so I'm not really in need of setting it up bang on 100%. What you need to do then is, see these rings that I put on earlier? You just need to share them out through the pipe. Now I'm keeping this hand here, what I'm sliding up and down away from the edge there, because it will cut, and that will be a nasty cut if it gets you. Hey, you do whatever you want to do. I'm just saying, because I don't want you getting injured. And what I need to do then is your spark arrestor, you need to get that on the inside. What went on pretty quickly, that was really good, that I'm happy with that. Right, let's just share these rings through the pipe. If you've got any dents in the pipe, when the pipe warms up with the heat of the stove, it sort of springs them out. So I won't worry about it too much if there is. You just want to make sure the part inside your stove, inside your tent, is clear, you know, from the other part of it, for the other edge. What I can feel the other edge is about here. So it's got at least a good 1.5 to 2 inch roll on it. Now this stovepipe, you can get them where the stovepipe is just in units, and all you have to do is connect it to itself, so you don't have all this messing around of rolling the pipe all the time. Yeah, to my knowledge, there's only 2 types of stovepipe. There's the roll-up one and the one that comes in sections. Right, there we go. Everything is in place now. So you can, with these, tie out the stovepipe. I would recommend you do it if, you know, it's windy. So you can see now it's got 3 lines. You need it if it's windy, because last thing you want is this pipe getting blown around. Look how much I've secured that like that. But yeah, last thing you want to do is have this pipe blowing around when it's windy. You don't want that. You're just going to cause problems, because what it can do as well is it can move the stove, you know, on the inside of the tent, and that's the last thing you want to happen. So like I said previously in the video, but when OneTigris brought this stove up tent out for the first time, this zip here for the door was on this side here. So even though your stove was there, you had to sort of unzip it and get into your room around the stove itself. It were dangerous, and thankfully, you know, they listened to the people who were using the hot tents, because when OneTigris brought these hot tents out, everybody on YouTube what was camping, they sent them one of these just to push it out on the internet. Yeah, like myself, I'm not going to try to deny it, there's no point. So they changed the door to this side, and then you can easily now just unzip it all like this and climb into the very spacious bedroom area. Very spacious. Now you got all this room. So like I said earlier within the beginning of the video, I'm just trying to show people, you know, different designs, what you're getting space wise, you know, what it looked like when it's all in place with the stove in place. You know, I don't want you to watch the video and me not give enough information about the tent and the stove together. Now myself, there is something I'd like to bring up with this. If you have the innering, when you're moving around your tent through the evening, you've lost a lot of this space here. All this space is gone because this is your bedroom area. There's two things you can do, is when you're ready to go to bed at night, then you can just put this in place then. If it's winter time and you're not too bothered about slugs and bugs and things like that, little winter spider here, and things like that, you could just leave it down and all this is your moving around space through the evening. So you could very easily, this space I am now over here, is have a camping chair. So you've got room to actually sit in the tent. If you've got the inside in place like this, you could have a chair here, but you're going to be against the tent there and there's not a lot of room. So the best thing you could do actually is just put this up later on through the evening when you're ready to go to bed. If not, most of the time you sat like this in this position, you know, feeding your stove like so. You'd be doing your cooking, everything is in this position. Now it's not bad. I've spent many nights like this, including last night like this. It worked. But like I say, if you didn't have this inner mesh up, then you could have a chair here. So you've got more room to be more comfortable, let's say. You could have two people in here. I think me and Oscar Outdoors were in here with his chairs. I think Scott with this side, I were here. The stove were blaring out, we're having a few drinks, you know, cooking away. It is a good tent for a beginner's person. I'm not a beginner, but I still use this tent. I like the tent, I really do. It's not too big, it's not too small. It's just like everything you need here. Now, when you're getting into the deeper of, like, say, winter, where it's dark from 4 o'clock and it's not light till about 8 o'clock next morning, then hot tents, bigger hot tents, more roomy hot tents, are more probably of a better choice. Now, what I'll do is, in the next couple of months or weeks, let's say, I'll start bringing the bigger hot tents to the channel so you can see exactly what I mean. Like the Pomoly one, that's a good one. That's a large tent. You can get a lot of stuff in there and be comfortable and stuff. We've got a TP tent what I used a couple of weekends ago. That's still a good tent. The best thing you can do in this one, like I say, I have chairs in it, but you're not standing up very much. This is the most you're doing. And unfortunately, you've not got the room to move around in when you've got the inner in place. So there we go. Let me know what you think about this week's episode on hot tents and setups with the stove as well. You don't want a massive stove within this small hot tent. The smaller the hot tent, the smaller the stove. If you're going to be using a big hot tent, then yeah, your stove is going to have to be increased in size to keep more of the area inside the tent warm. Do guide them out like this if it's windy, it's very important. Now, there's not much more I can say within this video to do with this iron wall tent by OneTigris and your Woods Walker stove. Like I say, it's a decent little setup for lightweight camping. What it all together, 5.4 kilos in weight. Take this camping with you. On it, probably you'd have to do is probably find a solution to your wood if you're not going to be carrying your wood in with you. So if you're going to be camping in woodland, there should be a lot of wood around. If it's been raining a lot, storms and stuff, it'd be a bit more tricky to, you know, find suitable burning wood. But what you can do as well is, if you leave your door open like this, if you've got enough wood cut and prepped, you get the fire going at least somewhat, you can always put the wood at the side of the stove, and that helps to dry it out. But then just think about the condensation inside your tent, you know, because obviously steam's going to come off the wood, it'll rise and it'll cause condensation. You could have door open like this. I do suppose that would work, but then you're letting all the cold in, so having the stove going to warm the tent up and then leaving the door open, you know what I mean? It's backwards and forwards, isn't it? But one other thing I want to quickly say is, deep winter when it is really cold, you don't really want to have your stove going all night long. So therefore you do need to take a winter sleeping bag still. When you're going to bed at night, that stove needs to be down. You know, it needs to be almost finished burning. You don't want to be up every 2 hours trying to keep the tent warm because you're in a thin sleeping bag. So you still do need to take a decent air mat, what's going to keep you warm, and a decent sleeping bag, what's going to keep you warm through the night if temperature does drop. You don't really want to keep that stove going all night long at all. Now what I will do as well is, in the description I'll share an Amazon link to my alarm that I got. I can't ever say it right, carbon detector, whichever one it is. I'm dyslexic, people, all right? I say it a million times. A carbon detector alarm. It's really good. It costs £40, I think, but it's rapidly works as soon as it detects any bad fumes. I'll share that in the description. But now I'm going to get off anyway. There's not much more I can say about the tent. This is the lightweight setup that I've got. What was it again? 5.4 kilos in weight. That's pretty good. If you want to see more of the series that I'm doing, I'll share it up there for you. Videos will be added to that as these sort of videos go on about hot tent setups and stuff. And then I'll share my little logo here if you want to subscribe so you don't miss these sort of videos, or you want to see hot tent camping or bivvy bag tent, hammock camping, all sorts of stuff on my channel to do with the great outdoors. Do consider hitting that subscribe button. I'll share the one up there like I said. But for now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.